From bell to bell, cell phones are banned. There are exceptions for kids struggling with disabilities.
Back to school on the horizon, cell phones will be restricted in classrooms next week. Plus,
there are a few people out there who would have hoped to purchase an electric vehicle who might be disappointed.
what will Canada's tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles do for buyers in BC?
It's the right decision to do this, but it's not going to really affect consumers' choice.
And
I think if you keep smiling, then at the end, you get the good thing returned.
I think that swimming helps me kind of reach my goals.
the road to Paris. 2 BC athletes prepare to go for gold at the Paralympic Games. Hello, I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Thanks for joining us. With back to school approaching, learning is going to look different for many students across BC this school year. The province is reminding families that cell phones and other digital devices will be restricted starting next week. Those new rules may vary district by district. Armira Baines has those details.
This father of 2 in East Vancouver welcomes the move to ban cell phones in BC schools. His children are 4 and 6. He struggles with his attachment to his cell phone and hopes the change will help his kids.
And I think that there's a lot of evidence to show that having to be connected outside of your environment to your peers and your other friends can be very harmful for you to be able to focus in on what you're doing and causes a lot of stress and anxiety.
Ahead of the start of school, Premier David Eby says all school districts in BC have policies in place to restrict cell phones.
The rule is the same. From bell to bell, cell phones are banned.
Eby says there will be special consideration for students with accessibility and medical needs. The province says policies may be different across school districts and age groups. The education minister says the restriction is to help eliminate learning distractions. The Vancouver School District says it asked families to help shape its policy.
It's really about allowing students to focus on the learning that's happening in the classroom.
McGregor says for elementary school students, cell phones must be out of sight the entire school day. For high school students, cell phones are banned during class time. They can use them during breaks and lunchtime. The Premier notes some school boards have gone further.
Establishing bags where kids have to put their phone in at the beginning of the school day, and it doesn't unlock until the end of the school day. We're not going that far, but there are options that go beyond where we are if we find this doesn't meet our and parents' expectations.
The BC Teachers Federation says policies around cell phones are best handled at the district level or classroom to classroom in partnership with teachers. It argues staffing levels and adequate resources are higher priorities than cell phones. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
A former London Drugs employee will spend 2 years in prison after pleading guilty to stealing $2 million worth of high-end merchandise he stole for 5 years, selling the stolen goods online. Our Benit Brach spoke with the CBC's Jason Proctor about why and how he did it.
Jason, how much money are we talking about?
We're talking about $2 million worth of high-end merchandise. Wow. So we're talking about laptops, that kind of thing, that this former London Drugs employee, who was actually handled, ironically enough, or hired as a merchandise handler, and he kind of took that to kind of criminal extremes with regards to this situation. He worked in a warehouse, a sort of high-end section of a warehouse for London Drugs. And over 5 years, he was found to have, piece by piece, taken out $2 million worth of merchandise, which he then sold kind of bit by bit on Craigslist, pocketing basically about between $750,000 and $1 million.
Wow, it's quite the profit. And do we know why he did this?
Yeah, so according to this judgment, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison in Vancouver Provincial Court. And according to that decision, basically he said he was frustrated. He had like frustrations as a London Drugs employee, I think about wages, etc., and did this kind of as an act of vengeance, something obviously he realizes now is kind of misguided, to say the least. But He was seen one day by a supervisor appearing to be concealing like a laptop under his clothes, and so they mounted this surveillance operation. They watched him steal 52 items during, the time that they had him under observation. Over the life of this criminal pursuit, which was 5 years, he stole apparently about 245 items, again adding up ultimately to $2 million worth of goods.
That's the CBC's Jason Proctor with our Benit Brach. Canada will soon be imposing a tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. Some environmental advocates fear the move will make it harder for average buyers to get an EV, but as John Hernandez reports, industry experts don't expect a big change to what's already a pricey market.
The price tags for these cars often don't come cheap, and in just over a month, any new electric vehicle imported from China could cost double. The tariff on Chinese EVs was announced Monday.
Actors like China have chosen to give themselves an unfair advantage in the global marketplace.
Critics fear the tariff will make it harder for prospective buyers to get into the market.
We're disappointed, but maybe more importantly, I think there are a few people out there who would have hoped to purchase an electric vehicle who might be disappointed too.
Chinese brands aren't readily available in BC, but many Teslas sold here are made in China.
It's not going to have a big effect on consumers right away.
This Vancouver electric vehicle consultant says Tesla should be able to adapt with minimal impact to buyers.
It's the right decision to do this, but it's not going to really affect consumers' choice. We basically mainly import Teslas from Shanghai. And now there'll be Teslas from California or Texas.
Meanwhile, BC's premier stands behind the Prime Minister's decision as it falls in line with measures taken by the U.S.
I understand, and I think a lot of Canadians do, the importance of Canada maintaining as much as possible a unified North American market with our biggest customers to the south, the United States.
Canada is in the early days of getting its own EV manufacturing industry off the ground, with more and more plants under construction in central Canada. In November, a battery plant was announced for BC in Maple Ridge. Experts say the tariffs will help sustain the facilities in the long run.
Here in Canada, we're only at the early stages of cranking out production. So right now, there are not very many jobs at stake, but there will be down the road.
The tariff goes into effect on October 1st. Ottawa will review it a year later. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Air Canada pilots held a demonstration at Vancouver International Airport earlier today. Thousands of them could walk off the job in a matter of weeks. As the CBC's Lindsay Duncombe explains, they're looking for better pay and retirement benefits in a new contract.
The Air Canada pilots are at the end, it expired last September, of a 10-year agreement. That goes all the way back to 2014. So this new collective bargaining process, which has been going on since June of 2023, is to really deal with a lot of those issues. And the competition has different agreements with their pilots. In fact, the union told us that at the Legacy Airlines in the States that recently negotiated, some of those pilots are making around double what the Air Canada pilots are. And of course, WestJet pilots just recently renegotiated a collective agreement that saw them making 24% more over a 4-year period. So the union says they are looking to be treated or have an agreement that is closer in line with their counterparts at other airlines. Here's what they told us.
Our objective here is not to go on strike. We don't want to cancel flights. We take tremendous pride getting our passengers to their destination day after day, 365 days a year. Air Canada has the ability to stop this. They have the ability to prevent flight cancellations. They just have to finally come to the bargaining table and actually present an offer that reflects the value we bring to this airline.
to deal with some of that, anticipatory stress of people who may have tickets. Air Canada has said that travelers who have tickets and are scheduled to travel on the airline that week where things might happen from September 15th to September 23rd, they can rebook, take the same trip just at a different date up until November, I believe, at no additional charge or fees. But again, both sides saying in this conciliatory cooling off period, they're hoping that a deal can be reached.
The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe at YVR. A group representing temporary foreign workers is criticizing cuts announced by Ottawa after a historic surge that some experts say has fueled unemployment among immigrants and young people. But the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change says international migration is being unfairly blamed for affordability and employment problems in Canada.
For years now, migrant workers have been falling sick. They've been dying. What the United Nations called the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, a breeding ground for modern forms of slavery. This is a program that creates one of the worst injustices in all of Canadian employment practices. And instead of addressing those practices, we keep having this debate about numbers. While people continue to suffer, while people continue to die. At most, the minister said 65,000. I believe it'll be lesser number of temporary foreign workers will be shut out. Canada has a population of over 42 million. Reducing 60,000 workers won't actually increase that many jobs. We're not addressing the problem. We are blaming the wrong actor, and that's a disservice to all of us. Migrants will continue to be exploited, but the housing crisis won't be solved because these workers are not the ones competing for your single family home. They're actually living in substandard employer-controlled homes, warehoused. The United Nations said 2 weeks ago, the easiest way to solve this problem is to give them permanent resident status. The issue is when there is an exploitable workforce tied to the employer, unable to live anywhere else, unable to work anywhere else, where the employer has the power to deport you and ban you from returning. There's a fundamental imbalance of power between temporary foreign workers and their employers. This change today does not fix the power imbalance. All it does is respond to a media criticism. It responds to some partisan economists and premiers using the fact of migration as a way to distract from the true causes of our housing affordability crisis. We have global inflation. People are struggling to make ends meet. They're looking for answers and they're being lied to. And those lies are hurting us. And those lies are creating a huge increase in racism and xenophobia that it will be hard to turn back from.
The BC government has launched a new resource for people struggling with substances, a new toll-free phone number for people who need help with drug addiction.
We have to do everything possible to keep people alive first so that we can connect them to care. And we know that the vast majority of people who are dying from poison drugs are using alone, and they die alone.
The province estimates there are at least 125,000 people living with opioid use disorder in BC, and about 24,000 people are currently receiving treatment. BC has seen cooler, wetter weather in recent weeks, so much so that campfires are permitted again in most of BC as of today at noon.
We're going to have campfire bans lifted across pretty much the whole province, minus the Northwest Fire Center, as well as parts of the Caribou Fire Center. Just for folks to keep in mind, though, campfires are a very specifically defined type of fire, so it's a very small fire. It's 0.5 meters by 0.5 meters. You also, in order to have it be a campfire, you have to have 8 liters of water and a shovel on hand.
Still to come, meet your Paralympic flag bearers. Canada will introduce you to 2 legends representing the country at the 2024 Paris Paralympics. That's up next. Team Canada has announced its flag bearers for Wednesday's opening ceremony of the Paris Paralympic Games. Champion swimmer Katarina Roxon, who is competing in her 5th Games, and wheelchair basketball star Patrick Anderson, who is in his 6th and final Games, will lead Canada's parade of Paralympic athletes. Roxon has 1 Paralympic gold and 1 bronze. Anderson has 3 golds and 1 silver. The Canadian Paralympic team has 126 athletes and it hopes to build on its 21 medals from Tokyo. And 2 members of Team Canada are from right here in Vancouver. Our Pinky Wong caught up with them as they prepare to go for gold in Paris. Take a look.
It will be the first time at the Paralympic Games for Burnaby's Fernando Liu.
Probably like 2 years ago, I would have never imagined myself in this position. And I think it's really cool seeing all the other different sports and different people competing. I'm in S10, SB9, and SM10. It's like a way to kind of even out the field. You race people with similar disabilities.
For para swimming, S1 and 10 are classifications given to swimmers with physical impairments. The lower the number, the greater the disability. The 17-year-old will be competing in both individual and relay events in Paris.
The goal for me is to just improve myself, try and get some best times here. Swimming helps me kind of reach my goals. It gives me like it helps me find like a purpose almost. You know, just training and going to different meets and seeing the results, I think it really helps me.
126 athletes are representing Canada at the Paralympics. Yuka Chokyo is a 3-time Paralympian and will be making her debut in para-badminton, having previously competed in tennis until switching to badminton in 2017.
Tennis and badminton is quite different. The mobility is very different. While tennis, you only going forward and then do figure 8 things. But badminton, you have to go forward, backward, forward.
Her first game will be on August 29th when she competes in the women's singles.
Whatever the results, I'd like to put my 100% effort on every shot, every movement. Well, life has a lots of ups and downs, but I think if you keep smiling, then at the end you get the good thing returned.
Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Canada's women's beach volleyball team brought home a silver medal at the Paris Olympics. That's inspiring those that play the sport here at home. As Michelle Morton reports, the volleyball community is hoping that victory will bring more funding and more visibility to the sport.
Silver medalists, Melissa Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson.
The Canadians marking the first time the women's volleyball team made the podium. A moment BC team member Melissa Paredes hopes brings more support for the game.
There hasn't been more investment or more funding in the sport of beach volleyball, not just in Canada, but globally as well. I think, again, it's a very marketable sport. It's continuing to evolve and grow.
Sport Canada says it supports Volleyball Canada with $693,000 in annual core funding and more than $2 million in enhanced excellence and next generation initiative funding, while the province says it provided Volleyball BC more than $327,000 in the last year. Volleyball BC says that money goes towards programs, but it has not seen an increase in core funding in a number of years.
We're really about trying to get as many people to experience our sport as possible and to keep physically active.
Coaching players with the club's Side Out Beach at this year's Volleyball Canada's Beach Nationals on Sunday in Vancouver, Sean Sanderson says he'd like to see more beach volleyball facilities made available.
Teams had to be turned away because we don't have enough space. So when a beach volleyball court's not a beach volleyball court, it's just sand.
It's 100% like my best hobby, and just all the friends that I've met and players make it so much more enjoyable, and coaches that really believe in you and push you. I love volleyball, being able to be outside, playing the sport you love, meeting new people. It's awesome. There's nothing like it, yeah.
Paredes says she hopes this momentum from the Olympic Games will carry on to the next Olympics and beyond. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here's a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. Darius will have your full forecast next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
On September 14th, celebrate Indigenous community, culture, and spirit at the 3rd annual Come Toward the Fire, a free outdoor festival where CBC is proud to be invited and return as the exclusive media partner. For more information, visit cometowardthefire.com and join CBC's Dan Burrett on September 24th at Dakota's signature fundraising event, the Team Trivia Challenge, supporting Literacy Month in BC.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Darius Maravi joins us now for a look at the conditions ahead. Darius, as you promised, the sun made its comeback today.
Yes. What are you going to do in the sun? How are you going to enjoy it?
I think the formula is bike ride, beach, and patio.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do too. I'm so excited. I'm going to go for a swim tonight, even though it's still a little bit chilly, a little bit windy on the coast, but generally the sunshine will I think will carry me over. And generally speaking, across the province, we have good news no matter where you are because the fire danger is down across the board. Now, in the days ahead, we don't have very much precipitation expected, meaning that we may start to see that fire danger come back up in the days ahead. But generally speaking, this is good news, and we have a little bit of a reprieve from the fire situation before that happens. I do want to note the snow that's going to be coming to the Coast Mountains tonight, or sorry, the Rockies tonight. We'll have another look at that in a second, overnight tonight. But first, temperatures. So today's highs, quite low, quite suppressed. Tonight's lows, even more so. But as we get into tomorrow and into the rest of this week, we're going to start to see those temperatures recover. So expect to see more seasonal temperatures come the end of this week. As promised, some snow coming to the Rockies tonight. Some decent amounts at those higher elevations. Also gotten word of some snow along the highways, so be mindful if you are traveling along those highways. But generally speaking, in the days ahead, the freezing level will shoot back up, so not too much more of that expected. Tomorrow, also good news, no thunderstorms expected in the interior. Very calm day, so generally speaking, it's going to be a fairly nice midweek. And that's the story pretty much across the province. Lots of sunshine still, a little bit of rain still coming to the southeast and up in the northwest. But other than that, we are dry and we are sunny, which I'm sure is welcome news to many people, especially as we can enjoy it while the fire danger remains low. And for the next 5 days here in Vancouver, it's a really easy forecast. We have sunny skies. We've got those warmer temperatures inland, but even by the beach, it's going to be quite pleasant as we get into the weekend. Quite humid in some places, especially inland and in the Fraser Valley. But Michelle, you got your bike ride, you got your patio, you got your beach. It's going to be a good week.
Got to make the most of it.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
And that is your late news for Tuesday. Thank you for watching. For news at any time, you can always go to our website. That's cbc.ca/BC. Have a good night.